We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com.
Okay, moving on to Infinite Gary. Gary is watching us on YouTube. Is he doing it right now? Hi,
Very
Gary.
likely.
It's just my face.
That's
Hi,
right.
Gary. I hope you like how I look, buddy. Gary is watching us on YouTube. During our live on-air recording sessions, the video switches between Tom and Rob, or it just stays on Lee if it's Lee.
Yeah, normally it switches between Tom and Rob.
Right. Each of us is in widescreen, but we are sitting way over to one side. Then in the complete 2-hour videos that we post on YouTube, we're side by side on the screen at the same time. What are we doing with the video versions these days to accomplish this?
Yeah.
Rob?
Yeah, so we're what we're doing it's kind of interesting when it's Tom and me, which would be the normal scenario.
Right.
Tom is recording just himself. So on his computer, he has his webcam. He's using a program called Manycam to record just himself all by himself. I am doing the same thing on my end. So we are just recording ourselves now. In order to make the split screen later on work well, the easiest thing to do, I mean, you could crop and pan and move things over afterwards, but then the resolution starts to drop and it doesn't always fit properly and stuff. So the easiest thing for us to do is for me to sit on the right-hand side of the screen and for him to sit on the left-hand side of the screen. We just arrange our webcams to be that way. And that way my recording shows up with me on the right and his recording shows up with him on the left. Now, after all that, he sends me his video that he recorded on his computer. He sends that to me. We use BitTorrent Sync to do that, or Resilio Sync it's called now, or whatever it is. But that's just the easiest way because they're big files. They're like 7 gigabytes. So it's, uploading that to a file share or whatever. It's easier just torrent it to each other. So he sends that over to me. Then I use another program called Filmora. I'm sure there's better ones out there. Tom, in fact, just sent me a link to a free one that might be better than anything we're using, so we'll evaluate and see how that goes. But right now I'm using a program called Filmora, which lets me do a little green screen effect. So when I'm recording myself in Manycam, I actually record myself on the right-hand side of the screen, and then since Manycam, as the name implies, allows you to put overlays directly on what you're recording, I overlay our lower third where our names appear and our logos appear. I overlay that over top of my video, and I make the left-hand side of the screen just a solid green. Okay. So normally what you would see on my computer is a green screen on the left, me on the right, and our logo at the bottom. And then I use that Filmora program with its green screen thing to put Tom's video into the green section. Okay. So that all renders out. I upload that to YouTube. That's our complete 2-hour video. So that's what's going on there.
That is wacky, and I am impressed. And if it was me, I'd have fun with the dead space next to you. That's not being used in the live.
Oh, in the live.
Like I would do weird stuff with that empty space that doesn't end up in the edited version. I don't know. Got to be something you can do.
When we do it the way I'm doing things with Lee right now, which is I just have our Google Hangout open. I have the camera fixed on him. In my Manycam recording, I'm seeing both he and I. The frame rate drops terribly doing things that way. I have to use 2 screens to do it, and I just don't have... If I had a way more powerful computer, it'd probably be fine, but that's why we do the local recording so that our frame rate doesn't drop down too.
For the record, I'm sending out fantastic high def.
Yeah, at one point it dropped down to 4 frames a second, which was not quite optimal, so... Yeah.
No, that's not optimal. Okay, so hopefully that made some sense. As we've been mentioning, Gary has tried several center speakers now in his kitchen, including the Ascend Horizon RAW and the new RBH SV-661CR with their folded ribbon tweeter. Fancy. At the end of all these auditions, he hasn't found anything he likes more than his Revel center speakers. Alrighty then. He's tried using nothing but the center speaker, literally only that one speaker physically connected. He's just watching cable TV with his cable box using a digital coax cable. He's tried switching the listening mode between normal 5.1 Dolby Digital and his Lexicon preamps 5.1 mono mode. He thinks the 5.1 mono mode sounds much better with a lot less harshness. Do we have any idea what technical reasons could explain this difference in sound?
Speculation here. I mean, one thing's for sure. If you're listening to 5.1 Dolby Digital with literally no speakers physically connected other than the center speaker, there's a whole bunch of sound not playing.
That's true.
There's a whole bunch of sound just flat out not playing because there's sounds that are exclusively in the front left and right speakers, exclusively in the surround speakers that do not make their way into that center channel.
That's the biggest difference.
So that there will be a difference in sound. I have zero doubt that once you switch over to a mono mode that mixes all sounds, no matter what channel they're in, mixes them together and plays the exact same thing out of every single speaker, there will definitely be a difference in sound. Now, why just the center channel all by itself to your ears sounds harsher than having all the sounds mixed together and played out of that one speaker, I'm not sure. Perhaps there's some masking going on by the fact that there is just more sound being played out of one speaker all by itself.
Yeah, your attention is drawn to all of these different sounds happening instead of what might seem like a harsh vocal track or something.
Yeah. So I'm not, that's some speculation, but I mean, there's certainly a difference just in terms of the actual signal that's being sent to the speaker in this scenario. There's an objective, obvious difference. Then, how you interpret that or why one sounds more harsh or more pleasing or whatever than the other, I would have to chalk up to just being a masking effect.
It depends on what's meant by harshness.
Yeah.
Most people, when they say harshness, they're talking about both distortion and bright treble.
Yeah,
is usually what I think of. Maybe that's what he means. That would be strange. I don't know. But definitely there's that difference. You're not hearing a bunch of sounds when it's in 5.1. All right. Last week, Rob went through some affordable 5.1 speaker systems for a Canadian listener and wound up recommending a 5.1 Vizio soundbar for $400. That was a little surprising since the same sound bars are literally half the price in US dollars. So Gary was wondering, are all speakers twice the price in Canada?
So not exactly twice the price. They're definitely more expensive. Gary particularly asked about ELAC because that might be the next center speaker that he gives a try. I think he's going to try every center speaker in the world.
Why not?
But like for example, their Unify UB5 bookshelf speakers, I believe, list for $500 a pair in US dollars. And then they're available up here in Canada for $769, which is a little bit more than just the straight exchange rate. So, but that's not double the price, but it's that, I mean, you're talking about 769 versus 500. That's a significant difference.
A big number change. Yes.
Yeah, big number change, but that is US dollars versus Canadian dollars. And then whatever, we have far fewer people. We have 10 times fewer people in Canada than in the US, so our distribution is less. So there's costs associated with bringing stuff into Canada. One example was like JBL. I've been talking about their speakers a little bit, looking at potentially buying a pair of their self-powered LSR 305s for my parents, maybe.
Nice.
So those are $150 each. List price in the States, $300 per pair. Up here, they're $219 each, $440 for the pair. So that is almost the exchange rate just there. It's a little bit more than just the straight exchange rate. But by and large, that's kind of what you're looking at in Canada. And then Vizio in particular, their prices are like shockingly low in the States. If you manage to get Vizio products in like any other country in the world, they're closer to other brands, whereas in the US, they manage to undercut everybody. So there's an even greater difference going on there.
So there you go. Always going to be some differences. I think it's the same in Australia, right?
Oh, yeah.
Probably even worse.
Yeah, and we saw we had a listener from India looking at subwoofers, and again, it was considerably more than just the exchange rate in currency.
Yeah.
And
who knows what tariffs are and stuff like that. I have no idea. Import fees and whatnot.
Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.